You're listening to Rod and Style Radio, the latest podcast brought to you by rodandstyle.com, which is where you can find links for merch, videos from our YouTube channel, along with stories and tech talk from some of the greatest folks in the culture. So grab the wheel, it's about to get wild. You've tuned in to Rod and Style. No, absolutely. If you listen to a lot of podcasts, check out Andy Frisella. He's done several podcasts over the year, and it's all like business minded, and like his stuff and the things that he talks about. He has shows where he talks to entrepreneurs coming out and creating businesses. Just absolutely entertaining for one, because he's funny as hell. And he's got a lot of good advice on things like that, and he, of course he does that. He's a multi-millionaire just from running businesses, and he flies all of his guests out the day before they do a podcast so they can go out and hang out. Like that would be ideal. For sure.
Yep, that's the goal. Someday.
Yeah, I think that's the goal for a lot of us, to do a lot of things in that manner. I think podcasting is like one step into that. So we've got probably about 10 or 11 more steps to go after that. But Noah,
how many episodes do you guys have so far on this one?
Episodes, I think we just dropped 11.
11 on Rod and Style, gotcha. And then for our own page is what, up to 20?
42.
40. Holy shit. I was off.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot.
You can clearly tell I don't pay attention to how many we do.
And she's been on most of them.
That's awesome. Well, good for you guys.
Yeah, we started the Kustom couple of April of last year. We started the idea of it in January when we kind of had to. But we started the actual recordings and everything April of last year, and we've missed a couple weeks here and there. We get busy and can't record, and things of that nature. But it's one of those things that we did it so much and so often. We started meeting a lot of people, and then we just started getting into the eyes of a lot of people, and that's when Chuck and Scratch reached out to us and was like, hey, we need to have a sit down and talk about things that we can be doing for each other. And, here we are, Rod and Style Radio, a year later. And, we put this out in January and started just going from there. And now we're at 11, 12, somewhere around there right now.
Yeah.
So, Noah, man, welcome to the show. Welcome to hanging out with the Kustom couple on Rod and Style Radio.
Thanks for having me on.
Tell us about the Hot Rod Kid. I want to know where that came from.
Where the name came from? That's a good question. That's what everybody always asks.
Of course.
I've always been into cars my whole life. And when I was about 14, my dad had this coworker who's like, if your son likes cars, you need to bring him over here. So it ended up being our neighbors, and it was the Emery family. So Gary Emery, and he's the one who created the first ever Baja Bug. His dad was Neil Emery, who had Valley Kustom shop, did all this stuff. He did Porsche Parts Obsolete, and then his son is Rod. So, just this huge car family, just full of hot rodders. And so they started bringing me over, and I would hang out, and they're like, you like hot rods so much, you want to build one? So they set me up with this little 27 Model T project, which unfortunately I'm still working on today because I work on everybody else's stuff. But Gary, he's like in his 70s, and because of all this stuff, everybody knows Gary Emery, and he's a super popular guy. So he would take me to car shows, and everybody would know, hey, Gary, how's it going? But he wouldn't always remember who they were. So he told me, he's like, I have you in my phone. You're Noah, the Hot Rod Kid. And he's like, now, if we go up and somebody starts talking to me and I don't introduce you, he's like, it's because I can't remember their name. He's like, so then that's when you need to step in and say, hi, I'm Noah, the Hot Rod Kid. And then they'll tell you their name, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, Bob, it's great to see you. So the whole thing started was just this thing so Gary could forget people's names and then nobody would know that he forgot their names because I would introduce myself, and then he'd be like, "Oh yeah, Bob, how's it going?" Yeah,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
And so then I kind of just I took it and it kind of stuck. Gary, he kind of has a knack for doing stuff, especially at first. You'll hear his idea and you'll kind of think, "What kind of an idea is that?" But he's the one who starts all these big trends, and so I've kind of been able to market it and turn it into something. So it's been kind of cool.
That's really cool, man. That's kind of the same dynamic that I have with Sama. So I know a lot of people.
Everybody.
Everybody.
He knows everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's same boat, man. Like I don't always remember everybody because, of course, in the age of social media, you meet so many people by Facebook or by Instagram, and you get used to seeing their little thumbnail of a profile picture or something like that
in their handle. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So a lot of times people will just come up to me at a show and be like, "Hey," and start just rambling off something, and Sam will do the same thing. She'll introduce herself. And then I'm like, "Oh, that's that one dude that has that one car," and it'll go off from there. So
until we run into that one person that comes and says hi to me and us, and we're like, "Well, shit."
Yeah. Damn it.
What are we gonna do now? you just go with the, "Hey man, dude, it's great to see you again."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always find myself, like you were saying, like, somebody will come up and they'll be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I can't remember their name, but, I'll be like, "Oh, wait, you're the dude with the 32 Roadster." And what's, once I hear the Instagram name, then I'm like, all right, I know who you are. By the profile picture and by the Instagram handle, I know who you are. I don't remember your real name, but.
Right. We'll have to get people to start walking around with their profile pictures on a T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm this guy.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. Like in 2050, everybody has just lost
horrible.
Identities, and it'll just be social media handles.
Yeah, well, especially with the whole metaverse coming out.
Oh, there you go.
Like my buddy who does all my renderings for all my my customer car projects, he also does like shoe stuff. And apparently, people are paying like big bucks for metaverse shoes. So maybe if the hot rod thing doesn't work out, I'll just design fictitious metaverse shoes.
Oh, wow.
I'll just do that thing. Yeah.
Being multi-versed and being able to do things like that, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, or maybe it's just metaverse hot rods is the way to go.
There you go.
There you go.
I always have a hard time finding something that I like or enjoy that's outside of hot rods. Some way it ends up kind of tying back around to hot rods.
Yeah, everything with us kind of circles back to it as well. I mean, I ran another podcast for a bunch of years and got out of it. And then Sam was like, "I want a car." And I was like, "I don't do cars anymore." And that lasted for about a week.
Yeah.
And right back into it. And so it's like everything just kind of revolves back into like that whole world.
It just went back to, you want a wife, right? Well, I want a car, and I want to be in the car world. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. Hey, you know what though? That's a good proposition. Usually it's the other way around. Yeah, usually it's you got to get rid of the car to keep the wife.
Yeah, no, I was like, we're gonna start looking like now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how many cars do you guys have right now then?
So we just got rid of the Oldsmobile, so we just have mine right now. But now we're on a hunt for him because he wants a custom. So that's like a whole different ball game for us. Yeah. But at one point we had 3, and it was just too much. It was too much because I barely get to drive mine as much as I'd love to. But yeah, now we're kind of on the venture of getting him something, as a bigger project for us because he wants a custom to go to like KKOA and Starbird and stuff like that.
Yeah, we kind of we go back and forth, and Sama finally got her dream car this past year, so she's good for a bit. And I think I've kind of gone through like phases of things that I like and things that I want to spend money on, and the last one that I got was the thing about it was running and driving. And when it was no longer running and driving, I was like, I just kind of sat there and looked at it. I goes, well, this isn't what I had pictured when it came to having a project car. So I didn't
Yeah.
want to spend the time and the money on a project car that I wasn't, in love with. So yeah, it's time to start searching again. So, but that's kind of been our dynamic the last 3 years that we've been married, is that we go and hunt for cars, and that's like that's the majority of our text messages that go back and forth. Is
That's
did
the
you see
most
this
fun.
one?
Yeah. Well, the hunt is like you said, the hunt is the fun part. When you're out there searching for what's going to be the next car that you're going to keep and make memories with for a while.
So you've got this Model T that you've been working on for a bit. That's the one that you've posted pictures up recently, right? You pushed it out in the sunlight.
No, that one's actually, so the sedan, that's a customer's project.
Oh, okay.
So so mine is it's a 27 touring car that I chopped off the back half of, and then added a Model T bed to the back, turned it into a Roadster pickup.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's on a Model A frame, and then it has it currently has a 21 stud flathead in it. But kind of with the style I was going with things, everything else was kind of panning out to be kind of a later, kind of mid to late 50s style. So I'm going to swap it out with a later style 24 stud flathead. But the 21 stud, that came from Gary. So that's kind of a sentimental piece, and I think maybe someday I'll put it in something. But yeah, so it'll be a little flathead powered, kind of just a traditional little late 50s hot rod whenever I can finally get it done.
Now, what's the difference between 21 and 24 studs? Like, I'm not fully versed in flatheads.
Yeah, so 21 studs were the first V8s that they produced. And so it just means that on one side of the head it has 21 studs.
Okay.
And so if you look at the bottom, kind of center section, you can see 21 studs are straight, and then the 24 studs have the Y. But the 21 studs, there's not as many parts out there available for them because they were the earlier motors. Not as many people ran them. And then the 24 studs, that's like, your 59 ABs and your 8 BAs. So, when you see flatheads with the finned aluminum heads and all the fun stuff on there like that, that's usually the later 24 stud motors because there's more out there and available for them. So the
Nice.
21 studs are this, and the cool thing about mine actually is it's a 37, so it's a 1 year only motor. Because Henry Ford, he was always just one of those people that it wasn't about efficiency. It was just about how can we make the most money?
Yeah.
Right. And so they still had Babbitt bearings, which is like the poured type bearings. And then they had the water pumps on the head, which everybody agreed was a horrible design. But Henry Ford was like, no, just keep going with it. But 37 was like that transitional period. So it was the only year that they had insert bearings, and then they also didn't have the water pump on the head. It was actually on the block where it should be. So
Very cool, man. Very cool that you're as well versed in all of this as you are, man. For as young as you are, you don't have to give out your age, but you can.
Oh no, I don't mind. I'm 22, so I look a lot younger. Everybody always thinks I'm way younger than I am, but yeah, I'm 22, and then I started building the car when I was 14. So
That is so rad.
Wow, I finally met someone in their 20s on here. I'm so happy.
yeah. It's surprising because there's a lot more people my age that are into this type of thing, and I guess I just usually find them more because I'm in that age bracket. But there's even people younger than me, like there's one kid who's 14. He actually was on my podcast, who's super into it. So they're out there. It's just
That's so rad.
they're not as many,
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe, yeah. Have you come across his page, Giuseppe?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I follow him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then also, like, I was just listening to the podcast with Chris Niederchrome.
Yes.
Oh,
his son.
yes.
Yeah, because I saw their Haggerty thing. So
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that thing rad? I was
Yeah.
so happy to see that because
Yeah.
I've been friends with Chris here in San Antonio
Yeah.
for years, and he's always had Dean with him, always.
Yeah.
Ever since I've known him, that's been their thing. They went to Roundup together. Lone Star Roundup always happens around Dean's birthday, so that's always
Yeah.
been his gift is they'll go to Roundup and then come back home and throw a party for him. But when they did that thing for Haggerty, I thought that was so cool to see them on and how they did that whole thing. And then so Dean's creating his own Roadster pickup.
Yeah, that's what I thought was so cool. I was like, oh, he's building a roadster pickup. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then Dean actually took Sama out in that tribute cookie car.
Oh yeah, that's the other cool thing. So the cookie car, the cookie car kind of has a special thing with me because my buddy Joey Ukrop, who worked for Rodder's Journal, when he came on my podcast, he gave me an issue of Rodder's Journal, and it was the issue that they had the kooky tea in there. And then Gary, my buddy who named me the Hot Rod Kid, he just was all super excited because his dad built most of the kooky car. Neil Emery built most of the kooky car.
Wow.
So he went through and was like, explaining me all the little details of, why things are this way and why they did it that way. And so, yeah, super cool. I really liked the tribute car that he has.
Very cool. I mean, that's awesome just to have that kind of influence in your life and people that are bringing you around things such as that. Like, that's epic at that moment. Like, there's a lot of these hot rodders out there that were building cars in the heyday of just the coolest times in car history, and they're all kind of going away. I mean, they're getting older and older, and they're just it's really cool to be able to capture some of the essence from people who actually did it when it was a thing. So that's really cool to have that in your life, man.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I get to, he's my neighbor. He's pretty much like my grandpa at this point, We're so close. But it's super cool to be able to, especially for what I'm into, to just, randomly he just sits there and all of a sudden he's talking about, Dean Batchelor, taking pictures of him standing next to the SoCal Streamliner, and it's like just crazy stories. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So when you start running out of content for your podcast, you just grab all your recording equipment and go next door and just say, "All right, we're gonna talk."
Oh yeah, yeah. We were actually talking about making a special show just for Gary, just where he can do that exact thing.
Aww.
Is just sit there and just give him a microphone, and yeah, he's a cool dude.
That would be a big hit, man.
Yeah.
Something that I had thought about years ago was to, and not just in cars either, but just to go and start talking to older folks and just talk about their experiences, like how it was in the 50s and how it was in the 60s. And,
and that's like Alex Exidius just had his birthday, and I'm like, somebody needs to get that dude on a podcast.
Absolutely.
Like for real, man. And Ed Escuderian and all these guys out there they're still kicking. Like, somebody needs to get them on a podcast before it's too late.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about people who are hitting their triple digits in age.
Oh my God.
Yep.
And still, like, everybody kind of knows, like, the stories that are being, like, passed down, and it's all like hearsay and things that you've read in magazines and such. But you're absolutely right. Like, there needs to be a podcast with some of these folks for sure.
Yeah. Gene Winfield, he's another one. I got to meet him at SEMA, which that was kind of one of my bucket list, like, people that I want to meet. So that was pretty cool too.
I got to stand in on one of his metal shaping classes down here in Texas. He just happened to be doing it out of Mercury Charlie's because they're good friends. And Charlie was a good friend of mine several years ago, and told me, hey, come to the shop. I'm not going to charge you for the class because you're not there to take the class. I need you to take pictures. So we took pictures and video and got to hang out with
awesome.
Gene, and it was a good time. It was a real good time. He's real nice.
Interesting story about Gene Winfield. How I met him at SEMA was, it was in the morning, and we were like walking down, right by the expo center there. And so my buddy that I was with, he's like, all right, what's on the agenda for today? And I was like, well, at 3:00 in whatever booth, they're going to have Gene Winfield there, and I really would like to try and meet him. And right next to us, his truck pulls up, Gene Winfield, and he's like, isn't that Gene Winfield right there? And like the coordinator guy who was like in charge of like the bus stops starts screaming and cussing him out. Get the hell out of here! And this is a bus parking spot. And everybody turns and looks, and everybody starts ganging up on this guy, and they're like, you shut the hell up, that's Gene Winfield. Do you know who that is? And then Gene Winfield hops out, and he sits on the park bench there. And so I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go introduce myself. So I introduced myself, and that guy was like, all right, I guess I should shut up because the mob's gonna come after me. And so he sees my, because I have a V8 tattoo, and so he sees my tattoo, and he's like, I like your tattoo. Can you go find me a mobility scooter? And so then I was off, sent by Gene Winfield to go find him a little mobility scooter so he could get over to the booth. So it ended up being a way better way to meet him. Because, you meet somebody in a booth and it's kind of like, nice to meet you, sign the thing, next person in line. But being able to yell back at the guy like, shut up, that's Gene Winfield, and then go find him a mobility scooter is pretty cool.
That is fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Just sit there. Yeah, I'll get in a fight with a bus manager over Gene Winfield. That sounds about like a good Tuesday.
Yeah, it was like we're like, do you know how old this guy is? And you're gonna give him a hard time for like just hopping out on the sidewalk right here? Like, there's not even a bus. Like, just go away, dude.
So, HRK Designs. That's the shop that you're working out of and that you own, of course. So when did you get the shop and when did you start, taking it into the business side of things?
Yeah, so I've been working on cars with my dad, my whole life. And so we have out on his property, we have a shop that we always just kind of shared and, worked on stuff out of and would build cars together. And then after a while, I was just like, well, I guess always I was just like, I really want to do this all the time. And then I think I would have been about 2 years ago is when I decided, I really want to take this and do something with it. And so Dad, he was nice enough, just kind of let me take over the shop and kind of, turn it into my own space, and came up with HRK Design, made up a logo, and just, at first it was just kind of a fun thing that I did, but then slowly more and more people, kept coming and bringing me their cars and stuff until I finally got to the place at one point where I was like, you know what, it's time to quit the job and go into this full time and see what we can make happen. And so since then I've been pretty busy, and it's been an absolute blast. I get to work on hot rods every day.
And that is cool, man. I hate to get into it because it comes up on every single show. But he just said that he started his business 2 years ago. So you started a business in the middle of a pandemic.
Yep. That's exactly right. And I mean, and that was the crazy thing is I was kind of thinking like it was like the beginning really of like when things started to get really bad. And so I was kind of thinking like nobody's going to want to spend money on cars right now because at the time everybody's kind of, I'm thinking at least worried about an economic collapse. It's going to happen at any point. But it was the exact opposite because I think people were I think there was a couple things. People were so cooped up that they wanted to work on their car, or it kind of maybe a reality check of thinking, we're all going to be here for a certain amount of time, so let's build that car, let's go do that thing. So it actually made it even busier than I ever would have imagined, but it definitely had its different challenges because like just recently I had a booth at the Portland swap meet, kind of just advertising for my business. But that's the first one that I've been able to do in the 2 years that I've been in business because car shows, swap meets, any type of, event like that where you could set up a booth, it's all been canceled. So most of my business has just been through social media and a lot through word of mouth and just passing out business cards. So it's been interesting. I didn't think I would be able to make it this far, like you said, just in the height of COVID.
Yeah, no, and a lot of business owners that we've talked with and people that are artists that relied on, trade shows and car shows and stuff like that's all been a big deal. I mean, it's just kind of a daily life thing kind of thing now. What's the furthest a customer has come to your shop? That's another one that a lot of people like kind of take pride in when people start coming from the other side of the country.
So right now the furthest that I've had somebody come is my buddy Alec Harrell. So he brought me his 38 Chrysler. He lives in LA. He brought me his 38 Chrysler for some rust repair. And so that one is more of just like he's a friend of mine. He was on my podcast, so he kind of just came out here to be cool. I've shipped some stuff, like, because I mostly do metal shaping, and so I've shipped some stuff to. I sectioned a 32 grill shelf for a guy in Texas, and then I did some subframe rails for a guy who is in some part of SoCal for a 32 cab, and that was one of the first jobs that I did because I just did it for my own project, and then he ended up hitting me up and mailed some his way.
Man, that's awesome.
But mostly it's been local stuff, so far. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're still, the first couple years in, of course, the majority of people are going to be folks that and folks in the area that have been able to see your work. But yeah, I could see, your passion in this and by the things that you've got going on for you already, that you're by the time you hit the 5-year mark in your business, you're going to be you're probably going to be getting cars in from the Midwest, and you're going to start seeing stuff.
That'd be cool. I appreciate that. Yeah,
absolutely, man. I can definitely see that. Just when that happens, and just remember that it was said here on this podcast.
Yeah, you called it. I remember that. Yeah.
And you're going to be cussing me out when that stuff from the Midwest shows up because it's coming out of the Rust Belt, and you're going to be doing a bunch of metal work.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. That would be funny because my buddy Mike Wagner, Cornfield Customs, he's from Ohio, so most of his work doesn't even come from like the Midwest area. He says so. It'd be interesting if he's taking all the West Coast work, and then I'm taking all the
and it's passing each other on the way over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah, but as of right now, I was just looking at my books, and I'm probably booked out with like bigger long-term projects until like September, October-ish time. So.
Oh my gosh.
That's really good. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still making time? Like you just said that you went to the swap meet, but are you going to be making time to go to any shows this year?
Yeah, I definitely try and make time to go to shows, because the way I look at it is that's my biggest advertising place. Even if I don't have a booth set up there, I go there and I wear my shirt, I have business cards, talk to people about what I do. So if I get complacent on no worries, the work will always be here, then the work might not always be there.
Yeah.
And being able to have the excuse of going to a car show as a business trip, it's also like, all right, tax write-off to go to a car show. All right, let's do this.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna try that if the IRS isn't listening to this. We're gonna be trying that this year with a couple car shows that we're gonna be trying to make it out to. So. Of course, Sam goes and competes in the pinup contests, and that's always a lot of publicity for the shows and what we're doing. And then plane tickets aren't cheap, gas isn't cheap, none of that. So yeah, if I can write it off, we're definitely gonna write it off.
Yeah. You guys need to. Have you guys ever been to Oregon?
I have. I used to be a travel nurse, and I was out there, and I would send him pictures because I love the weather out there, and I saw a little bit of the shops and stuff.
The weather out here.
Are you serious? I loved it.
No, because it's out for 9 months out of the year. It's rainy and gloomy. Our summers are gorgeous. Like, we have beautiful summers. It's nice warm weather. But yeah, just being out in the shop and then it's just rainy, gloomy, and cold. I'm just like, all right. It can be warm and sunny. I won't mind.
That's my weather, though. I hate the heat.
Yeah, so she doesn't like the heat. She keeps our house at like 63 degrees.
Yeah.
So I'm always freezing my ass off. But the other part to that too is like I could deal with cold, but I couldn't deal with the rain. If it's raining and cold, that's where I'm out, man.
Yep.
No, thank you.
Nope, I love it. It's my favorite.
And trying to keep things from rusting, and then you can't park any car outside that you care about, because then it's going to leak somewhere, and then you find every leak in your shop, or like sometimes it's so bad that the door's shut, but the water in the wind will blow the water, and I open my door, and then I'm like, I can sit here and go on about how much I hate it. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, we went to a car show, 3 weeks ago, a month ago? I don't even know. It's been a while. But we went to a car show. I was only out in the sun for maybe like 3 hours. I got 2nd-degree burns. Like, I got that badly burned.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this is why I hate the sun. This is why I don't like it.
Well, see, on the other hand, though, like when me and my buddies went from here to Pendleton for the Hot Rodorama show, which you got to give a shout out to that. That's a great show. So we were like, yeah, we'll drive there. It's like a 4-hour drive. We'll drive there. And so we get about halfway there and we're like, this is really not that bad. We left in the morning. And then we're like, oh my God, it was like a national heat advisory. It was like 102 degrees and it was so freaking hot. Like my buddies were riding in a Model A coupe together. So like 2 guys in a Model A, and they were taking bags of ice and just setting them on the floorboard, just hoping that like some type of cold air would kind of like waft up, I guess. Yeah, it was when we got there, and it was brutal.
That's Texas heat. That's
I'd be
Texas
hugging
heat.
that bag of ice. I wouldn't just be on the floorboard. I'd be full on hugging it.
That's Texas heat and love. Everybody, you can tell how many Texas people love their cars because it'll be 102, 105, and we'll still drive the cars.
Yeah.
Drenched in sweat to a car show. Like, that's what happened with my Thunderbird. We drove it from Houston all the way here, and that was, about 5 hours?
It should, in a daily driver, it should be about 3.5 hours from San Antonio to Houston. And it was about 5 in the Thunderbird. 5,
and I was driving in 105 degree weather all the way home while he was following me. I just had, bottles and bottles of water, and every time we stopped, I was just stuck to the seat. I was like, this is great. Let's keep going. We're almost home.
Those cars, especially my truck, when I was driving my F100, I could feel, because I was wearing flip-flops, I could feel my foot so hot from, the engine and the transmission. Yep. It was just, it was brutal.
Yeah, heat and cars, they just don't go together very well. Fortunately, here in San Antonio, we have a little thing called Vintage Air. And they're the folks that put these air conditioning systems in all of these old hot rods and stuff. And we know several people that in the middle of a Texas summer, they can still drive their car with their windows up.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I need to do that to my truck. Yeah. Or have you guys ever done the swamp cooler thing?
We do have several friends of ours that have them on their, lowriders, and they'll throw dry ice into the swamp coolers and the ones that hang on the outside of the window. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a few friends that have those, and it works really good until the ice runs out.
Yeah. Well, they look cool at least.
Oh, they look
expensive. Awesome. I looked into getting one for my F100, and those things are expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, they're I don't think anybody's repopping them. Mm-mm. I think all of the ones that you find are originals.
There you go. There you go. That's what you need to do. Start repopping those swamp coolers. Especially in your guys' area, that'd be a moneymaker.
Absolutely. You heard it on Rod and Style Radio, folks. The Hot Rod Kid will start making swamp coolers for the Custom Couple.
Yeah, exactly.
Sold out already.
We will become business partners in this, and we will. That's our next platform. That we went from podcast to metal shaping of swamp coolers.
Yep.
There you go.
I'll work off of a measly 95% commission.
Done. Done, because that other 5 will still pay all of our bills. I promise
you. Sounds like a plan.
Oh, man. I guess we'll have to cut Chuck and scratch in on it a little bit. 1%.
Yeah.
0.2%.
A little bit, yeah.
Right? Because that whole thing, if you come up with an idea on company time, you have to, the company has
you have to include them in it?
Included in it?
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yes.
I guess.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you want anything to sell, though, if you want anybody to know about them, then you got to talk to Chuck. That dude freaking blows my mind with his Instagram pages or just how he just markets stuff,
Oh,
it's
I
just
know.
That dude just starts wildfires of trends. It blows my mind.
Yeah, no, when they came to us and was like, hey, we want to try to do this and y'all should do it. And we were like,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can totally do a podcast for you. And he's like, all right, cool. And he starts listing all the pages that he's involved with and that he runs.
And he's like, don't tell anybody because I don't want anybody to know. He's like, but just know it's me. I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah, and then now that we've done the podcast, a lot more, like starting to do videos with Scratch in the garage up there in Fort Worth. Like he's actually like coming more to the face of things instead of just being behind the scenes. Like it's awesome. Like to be involved with what they're doing is just absolutely a great step in all of all directions. Just a really cool guy in general. Actually, we've hung out with him. And
he hit me up on like because I had followed like Speed and Culture and Rod and Style and stuff. I didn't I didn't really know what all was behind it. And then he hit me up and just basically was like, hey, we were going to be passing through. I wonder if we could visit your shop. And I was going to get him on the podcast because he was going to be at Hot Rodorama.
Yeah.
Anyways, and he's just like, he did the same thing. He told me all the pages that he runs. He's like, whenever you want anything, if you need a shout out for something or if you're trying to advertise something, just let me know and, I'll get you hooked up. So he's a cool dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, he came to town, ate a meal with us, and then we did a podcast.
On my car.
Yeah, he put the hubcaps on Sama's Buick, and well, because we went to go buy them, right?
And then
so
I put
there was like
work.
a whole half a day of going and searching and finding hubcaps, and he went with us and found some things of his own that he wanted, and he comes over to the house and we put him to work. He starts putting the hubcaps on her
correction. He saw the hubcaps that I had when I bought the Buick, and he was like, so do you want to put these on now? Because those are hideous. I'm like, let's do it.
That's the other thing is he'll just tell you straight up. So we were at Hot Rodorama, and I was wearing my hop-up hat, and so he walks up behind me, and he throws it. He's like, take that shit off. You need a Speed and Culture hat.
That sounds about right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're going to end up starting all kinds of fights on here.
I was like, I love Pop-Up Magazine. Yeah, but yeah, he gave me. We like exchanged free T-shirts. So like, I gave him an HRK design T-shirt, and then I got a Rod and Style T-shirt, which was way cooler than the T-shirt that I gave him. So it was a good trade.
Yeah, no.
He randomly asked us what our sizes were, and then sent like 15 shirts. I was like, we didn't expect whole wardrobe. We just wanted a shirt. He's like, no, take pictures. I'm like, got it, deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it has done him some good because I think one of the pictures that Sama posted of her sitting on the Buick,
2,000.
It had like 2,000 likes on it or something like that. I was like, Jesus.
That's awesome.
So yeah, no, it's good, man. And like, the cool thing is, like, folks, if you're listening to this, check out rodandstyle.com and see all of these different T-shirt designs that they have. Like, there's just so many to choose from. Whether it be a Rod and Style shirt, Scratch has some of his shirts on there. Speed and Culture's selling shirts on there. Model T Obsession's another one that's selling shirts on there.
Yep.
I mean, absolutely, just cool shit. I was like going through it and going, man, I don't have enough room in the closet to be buying all these shirts.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I'm going to have to clean out the closet soon.
Yes. You have too many.
Yeah, I guess take out all the hop-up stuff and just replace it with Speed and Culture stuff.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. But so what plans do you have for the podcast? For what you're doing, you have any guests that you're planning on, or do you schedule that out?
I try to schedule it out. I'm so busy with all the work that I try and get done, and I always end up overbooking myself. And then, even though I know I'm going to overbook myself, I still do it again. And so, yeah, I'd like to get back to doing it more often. Like I was saying, I want to do the thing with Gary, do a consistent thing with him. And then I have like a couple people that I kind of like. One of them is Dale Seaholm. I was going to try and get him on the podcast. He's the one who does the Hot Rodorama stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. It's difficult because I really enjoy doing them, but it's like just like you guys, you get busy and you miss a couple of weeks, and yeah.
Are there any shows that you're planning on going to?
Because it's this year.
Yes.
Yeah. So I go to Bonneville every year. So this will be my 6th year going to Bonneville.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to Hot Rama again. My dad and I would like to try and go to the Pacific Northwest Nationals in Seattle for like the NHRA. And then we'd like to go to the Estranged Car Club, this local club here in Portland. They have the drags in Tudor, Washington. And so we'll probably take my dad's car, Double Trouble, take there and race that. And then usually in like September, well, we did it last year, the Alvord Desert, which is kind of like, we take it on the way to Bonneville. It's like way like southeastern Oregon, just in the middle of nowhere. There's this desert that's just like El Mirage or something. And so we take all pre-1934 cars out there and just kind of race them and cruise around. So yeah, I was looking at it, and I think every single weekend this summer is taken up with some type of event that I'm going to try and go to, but we'll see if I get to make them all.
Hey, that's awesome, man. Right now we're doing good at being able to do something once a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once a month is a big deal because it sucks when you get busy during the summer, and then the summer's over and the show season's over, and you look and you're like, oh my God, like we didn't do anything, like that's always the worst feeling. But once a month, if you hit the highlights of the shows, that's definitely the way to go.
And of course we're also trying to, a lot of things we do, and we tell people all the time, we're trying to do things that are out of state for us.
Yeah.
So we can get further out into, some places that, the folks in our area haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And the cars haven't been seen yet, and the pictures haven't been taken yet, and things of that nature.
Because we love our Texas shows, but we definitely, we've seen a lot of them, and it's like, man, we need to see these other shows that nobody outside of our state has done, because that's kind of something that, is kind of hard to break here, is that, especially in our area, and we're in San Antonio, a lot of the people that, have cars and stuff, they don't really go outside of San Antonio, so, we're the next best thing for them to get coverage and to see all these shows so that they can want to go to them. So, yeah, that's kind of our goal this year, is to go to as many out-of-state shows as possible.
And you as much as like I enjoy the friends group and the culture that we have here, like in my local area, you go to places like that and you start traveling around, and next thing you know, you have friends all over the country, especially Bonneville, because everybody from all over the world goes to Bonneville. So, next thing you know, you have friends all over the place. You break down in, somewhere state, and you're like, hey, well, we know Bob from, the show we went to, call Bob up. And then, that's what I always think is cool, is you get more friends, spread out from all over.
Absolutely. I think Travis just said that on the last show we did. And he was talking about, he did his 48 cars in 48 states trip.
Yeah.
And he said he was like, what, 2,000 miles?
Yeah,
2,000 miles into the trip, and he broke down. And he had to start searching and find somebody that, that he knew.
They took him to a garage with people that he never met, only knew through social media, and he's like, well, screw it, hopefully I don't die. And he showed up, and they helped him rebuild everything he needed for his car, and then he was back on the road within 2-3 days.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, being able to spread out the people that and as much as the local group might be really cool and tight, get to meet new people, and we have lifelong friends that we just know that we're going to see every single year at Bonneville. We see them once a year and hang out with them for a week, and we always look forward to it, so it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you value that kind of friendship too, especially the ones that you don't get to see every day. And that's just the reality of it. Folks that you don't see all the time, you get to see once a year. For a lot of folks that haven't been able to go out, in the last couple of years, starting to go to the events now. That's the big thing, is being able to get out to some of these events and see some folks that you haven't seen in a couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely glad that things are opening back up again. It was a brutal year, no swap meets, limited car shows and stuff. So I think this year stuff's finally starting to come back. So it's been pretty cool.
Is there any folks that you want to give some shout outs to, and some folks that listen to your show that you want to let them know that you got onto this one?
Yes. So, shout outs wise, I got to give a shout out to my dad. So he's always been a huge supporter of me. You know, he let me take over his shop basically and just kind of do this thing. And he has his own business too. So he is Norwood Transport. So he has a big enclosed truck and trailer, and you know, he hauls cars for people all over the country. So yeah, so if you ever need something to get somewhere, you know, because you guys are always looking on for cars,
Always.
you know, you see something.
He's found one,
away.
so we may be hitting up your dad for that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm looking at him.
Yep.
I'm like, hey.
Yeah, yeah. So he's probably the best way to contact him is T Norwood Transport LLC on Instagram, and so he's sometimes I tease him a little bit because he's just so meticulous about, you know, making sure everything's super safe and done the right way, but that's the type of person you want hauling your car that you spend a lot of money on.
100%.
Yeah, and then Gary Emery and then Jared and Renee. That's you know, they're the ones who got me into this whole thing and kind of mentored me, you know, through the way that I'm here. And my mom too. My mom's always super cool. She's not super into the whole car stuff, but she comes and participates and lets my dad and I talk to her about stuff that she has no idea what we're talking about. So yeah,
and then grin and smile.
Also, exactly, she's really good at that. She's really a sweet lady. Yeah,
Love
and
it.
then also all the people that follow me, like I really appreciate it. You know, it's super humbling that, you know, you guys would reach out and want to have me on your show, or that I go to shows and people are interested and they want to talk to me about what I do. It's pretty cool. So I appreciate all those people that follow along and watch what I do, because I'm just a 22-year-old kid just hammering on metal. It's nothing super special, but the fact that people want to watch I appreciate it.
Dude, don't even discount the fact that you're 22 and doing this, because, you know, like I said, honestly, you're 2 years into a business. You probably got through the toughest 2 years of starting a business.
Yeah.
And, you know, look at it this way: in 10 years, you'll still be in your early 30s and probably have put out some of the coolest shit out there, man. So don't even worry about being young in the industry. That's a good thing.
There's usually some people, like, that happened quite a bit when I was at the swap meet and I was showing off my booth, you know, and they saw, oh, okay, so is this a hot rod shop that you like work at or something? And I said, nope, this is my shop. And they're like, well, who did all the work? I said, I did all the work. And so at first people are usually a little bit taken aback, and I think they're kind of hesitant, you know, to maybe bring their car to me because I'm a 22-year-old who looks like a 12-year-old. But usually what they say is, you know what, after seeing your work, you know, they usually, you know, want to bring the car my way. So I try to let my work speak for itself and not, you know, have to tell people. Yeah.
Of course, man. And it absolutely will. And, you know, and having manners is a big deal too, man. When you're running a business, like, being able to just talk with people and, you know, have the respect factor going back and forth will bring customers, you know, hand over fist, man. You're gonna go far with this, man. I can see that.
Yeah. But, well, it's like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Oh, it's just to your point. You know, at the swap meet, you know, I'll have quite a few people who will come up to me and they'll be super passionate and interested about this project that they might want me to do, but it might not be something that I would necessarily want to do. It might not be necessarily my scope of work or something that I would personally find interesting. But if you treat that person like they have a stupid idea, you know, because you're not going to do the work for them, that's already established. But that person is then going to have that certain feeling about you, and then that word's going to spread, you know, that you're just, you know, a jerk to somebody and didn't want to hear out their idea or told them they had a stupid idea or whatever.
Exactly.
And, you know, word of mouth is your biggest thing.
Yep.
You know, so I always try and, you know, even if somebody has an idea, that's always the hardest part is telling somebody that I don't necessarily, you know, their project's not for me, you know, because trying to let somebody down, you know, easily, I guess. But yeah, to your point, you know, try and be respectful and kind. You can never go wrong with that.
An easy, and it's never easy, but an easy way to take care of that is to just put your bill a little bit higher. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like what is it worth to you to use your time up in that fashion?
Yeah.
And then if they're still into it, hey, you just made a little bit more money.
That's true. That's very true. Yep.
But we will let you get back to your normal daily lives and let our listeners get back to theirs. And as always, stay wild.